And now I'm standing next to the president again, next to a collapsed bridge here. And he is here to commit to work with the governor and the delegation to make sure that we get this fixed quick, fast as well, too. This is a president that is committed to infrastructure. Yeah, and then on top of that, the dual kind of a law of the inflation bill that is going to make sure that there's going to be bridges all across like this, all across America getting rebuilt.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Joe Biden kicking off his presidential campaign several days ago with a rally in Pennsylvania. Very low energy, not a lot of people knew about it, not a lot of people saw it, but for those who don't know already, Joe Biden is indeed running for president. We don't talk a whole lot about the 2024 Democratic primaries. We talk a lot about the 2024 Republican primaries. However, in terms of the Democrats and what they are doing in terms of their nomination, Joe Biden, you'd think that, oh, it's pretty much locked up. He's an incumbent president, which is that entirely true? Now, the truth is, I think Biden is going to be the nominee. I said this from the get-go, that they don't have anybody better. Doesn't matter how old he is. Doesn't matter how decrepit, demented, you name it. You could throw whatever name you want out there. They're going to try to put him up there because even then, they still know he's the best they've got and he's a puppet. He's controllable. Now, 2028, they are building a bench for that. But as of right now, 2024, it doesn't exactly seem like anybody's going to run. People have talked about Gavin Newsom jumping in as like an insurance policy, or maybe Biden would step aside for Kamala Harris. It has not materialized. However, you do see several people in the running. You have Marianne Williamson, who is basically known as the crazy crystal lady who gave some highlights to the first couple of debates on the Democrat side back in 2020. Actually, the debates took place in 2019. She was a non-factor by the time the primaries rolled around. She'd already dropped out. And then you have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who we've covered very sporadically on this channel. And he's somebody that I would consider an old school type of liberal that you would see from the 2000s. He does talk about some interesting things. He appears to not be a member of the Uniparty, even though there are disagreements there. At best, you could say he's controlled opposition. But is he even controlled opposition? I don't know. But either way, he is somebody with a lot of positions that I disagree with. He's flip-flopping to make himself seem more center, which is bizarre because he's challenging Biden. Biden is somebody who's already a neoliberal. Usually people speculate that if there would be a challenge for the Democrat nomination, it would come from the left. And while you do have that with Marianne Williamson, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., besides some like environmental positions he has, is pretty much to the right of Biden on every issue. He's the one running as being like this more moderate type of individual, and then sometimes he'll dissent from the Democrats when it comes to things like lockdowns, vaccine mandates, etc., you name it. But even then, those are not like top 5 issues in the minds of a lot of people. Obviously, there are people that still prioritize them very highly, but it doesn't really seem like either way it's going to help him in the Democrat side, or it really is going to hurt him on the Democrat side. But what is more striking here is that Biden has only 54% in the latest poll conducted for the primary. There are polls that have him in the 60s. The RCP average, I think, has him at like 62. But still, 54% as an incumbent sitting president among his own party. A lot of people are disillusioned with Joe Biden. A lot of polls have indicated that Trump would beat Joe Biden in the popular vote if the election were to take place today. And technically, we could say, well, maybe the polls are oversampling this group or undersampling this group, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is Biden is in a lot of trouble. His favorables have tanked significantly. He took office with a 56% approval rating. That approval rating now is 41%. And in many swing states that will determine the election, In 2024, his approval rating is much lower than that, especially among those low propensity voters who don't like Biden and didn't exactly show up in the 2022 midterms. And not a lot of people are talking about them. People are having all the wrong takeaways from the midterms. Oh, that's the electorate we're going to get next time around. It's not entirely true. And that's something they missed. Democrats are very good at turning out their voters. Republicans, not exactly so much, especially those low propensity voters that handed Donald Trump Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania back in 2016. But furthermore, when it comes down to Biden, he's got some problems. 54% or so, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is giving him a run for his money. And now a majority of Democrats want Biden to debate him. So they're open to the option. They're open to him. He has an approval rating at like 49% or so among Democrats. Far less people on the Democrat side disapprove of RFK Jr. than approve of him, partially probably because his last name does indeed go a long way in politics in general. It's one of the most, if not the most iconic dynasty that we've seen in American politics, at least in the past 100 years. But when you look into it, it does seem as if you have a disillusionment on the other side. Doesn't mean Biden's going to lose. I don't think RFK Jr. is going to win, but he's entering the conversation. And when you have somebody that enters the conversation, gets a portion of dedicated support, and then the election rolls around and they're not the nominee, a lot of those voters might not vote. Some of them might vote third party. Is RFK Jr. going to run as a libertarian? I know there's like 5 states that have sore loser laws at the presidential level, but even in those states, you can run as a write-in. Technically, you're not going to be allowed to be stopped by that fact. Either way, it seems as if this could be an issue. It could be. If he does run as a libertarian, maintain some of those supporters, yeah, he's going to be taking away voters that could go for Biden. And it is true that it's kind of like the Yang Gang thing, where a lot of his like online supporters are indeed people who probably would vote for Trump over Biden. But still, you have a lot of people and a lot more people that support him that would not. These are Democrat voters. They're being polled. And you have, 15% or so already saying they're going to vote for him. Many more are open to voting for him over Joe Biden. A majority of Democrats want Biden to step in the arena and debate RFK Jr. Who knows what's going to happen? Like I said, I think RFK Jr. probably gets 20% in Iowa, maybe a little bit more than that in New Hampshire, and then in the last 2 of the first 4, South Carolina, Nevada. Technically, they might be doing Michigan earlier this year. There's some other states that might come before. But either way, he's probably not going to win. But still, getting millions of supporters, being in the conversation, being in the mix, that does not help Biden. The fact that Ron DeSantis is running against Trump is not something that in and of itself is going to help Donald Trump. Maybe it might sharpen him. It might say, oh, you're going to have to go through what you went through in 2016. You're going to face a lot of these challengers who are career politicians throwing their hat in the ring. You're going to have to step up on that debate stage and mop the floor with them, show him why you're the guy, and maybe it'll push him to the right on a couple of issues that he needs to be pushed to the right on. Okay, maybe you could say that's a net positive from it, but still the fact that you want to put somebody through a divisive primary is not something that is going to help them. There's a reason why one of the 13 keys, if you are an incumbent president, is do you have a large challenger from that party? And it doesn't really say what the threshold is, but Biden having a challenger that gets like 30% or so is a very good thing because it weakens him. And I do hope that RFK Jr. does well in the nomination process. I don't support him in any large capacity. I think he brings some interesting things to the table, can shift the Overton window on a couple of things. That's great. But when it comes down to it, his main purpose is to serve as the guy who will trip up Biden between now and the time that the DNC rolls around. And that in and of itself is a very good thing. A majority of voters disapprove of Biden. We know that this poll conducted shows that 57% disapprove. He's at a net deficit of approval at 13.6, which is worse off for him than he was in the last video that I made where I referenced the approval rating. It's not a good thing. Trump is beating him by several points in the popular vote polls, and it does seem as if he is very vulnerable. He's not guaranteed to go down in flames in a landslide in 2024. However, what we do know is that he is beatable. Donald Trump can beat him in a general election. We've covered that at length. We will continue to cover that at length. But also, some of his own party is tired of him. They are disillusioned. They want somebody else to step in the mix, somebody else to run. And while Trump is not polling at 80% like he was polling before the 2020 primary, where he was an incumbent president, Joe Biden is polling in line with Donald Trump for his own nomination. RFK Jr. not far behind DeSantis when it comes down to the percentage of the vote and getting that nomination. It's very, very telling. A lot can change between now and the time the primaries roll around, but Biden's trajectory, not exactly upward, and he could very well be tripped up by this guy who is running to his right on the Democrat side on many issues, if not all of them, which is very, very telling and showcases how much of a disaster his administration has truly been so far. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.